Welcome and thank you for coming. This is a special town meeting of May 6, 2023, and it is hereby being called to order, there being no quorum required for our special town meeting. We are in session. My name is Buzz Eisenberg. I have the absolute honor of being the moderator of the town of Ashfield. Please note where the fire exits are. Is there anyone sitting in either of these blocks who is not a registered voter of the town of Ashfield? If you are not a registered voter, please raise your hand. For those folks who are coming in, if any of you are not a registered voter, would you sit on the flanks? Not where voters will be voting. Thank you for that. I am going to reserve the introduction of this fine tables at the front, the people that keep us going as a community and as a polity. I'm going to reserve that for our annual town meeting, which will be convening in about a half an hour. But you can see that they have nameplates, which will tell you who they are. I'm reminding meeting members that our bylaw prohibits anyone from speaking more than twice to an issue without permission from the meeting. I'll also remind you, if you're able, to hey, could you guys keep up a little bit quieter, please? For those people who are checking in, a little quieter. I would like to remind you to stand, state your name and where you live so that our minutes can reflect who is speaking to an issue. At this time, I would like to ask our town clerk, Alexis Yazenko, I don't know why, I always get tongue-tied, to read the return of the warrant from our constable, please.
I do. I printed it. Good morning. Franklin SS to any of the constables of the town of Ashfield in the county of Franklin, greetings. In the name of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you are hereby directed to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town qualified to vote in elections and in town affairs to meet at the town hall in said Ashfield on Saturday, the 6th day of May, 2023 at 9:30 in the morning, then and there to act on the following articles. There are 10 articles, and you are directed to serve this warrant by posting up attested copies thereof at the Ashfield Town Hall and the Ashfield Post Office in said town 14 days at least before the time of holding said meeting. Hereof fail not, and make due return of this warrant when your doings thereon to the town clerk at the time and place of meeting as aforesaid. This was signed on the 10th day of April by Tom Carter, Todd Atlantic, and Steve Goodgen, our Ashfield Select Board, and it was posted by Elizabeth Lejour on April 18th, 2023, 18 days before this meeting.
Thank you, Clerk Fedorchenko. I've only known her a couple of years. It's like really ridiculous. So thank you. I'd like to, is there a motion with respect to Article 1 of our special town meeting warrant?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $311,652.82 from the broadband debt payment account and $14,023.18 from the civil defense broadband line to the Broadband Enterprise Fund fiscal year 2023 budget.
Is there a second? Would you please explain to us, Mr. Carter?
So what this is doing in fiscal 23, last year at this time, the fiscal 23 broadband budget was billed using just over $325,000 of grant revenues that were due to come in. However, due to a delay in the grant payments, the funds won't be received until the fall of 23 or in fiscal 24. So this is going to change that, square up that account so we won't have a deficit at the end of the year in the enterprise fund.
Thank you. Finance Committee Chair Tom Minor Jr. I don't see a recommendation by the Finance Committee. I understand this is recommended by the 5-0. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Discussion, comments, questions? Thank you. I'd like you to use, for the rest of today, what we're going to do is use this mic for anybody who wishes to speak. That way you can line up maybe 6 feet apart from each other if possible. And that way we won't have to make a list and remember names. So if you would, state your name and where you live.
Hi, my name is Dave Meyer.
Look, you might have to click this switch.
My name is Dave Meyer, 472 West Road. And so when we get the $325,676 back from the state, will it be put back into each of these funds that we're taking this month? We're borrowing it from Paul to pay Peter. Are we going to pay Paul back with this grant money back?
Mr. Carter.
Yeah, so excellent question. You know, there's Peter, Paul, and Nancy in this. So Nancy is the one that we voted earlier. These monies were set aside 3 or 4 years ago to help set up in advance of us even having broadband operational. We had already voted that money and put it in cubby holes to pay off the debt. So when the grant money comes in, there'll be lots of places for that to be used. But as we found out from last year, it's best not to try to spend it until we have it. So yes, it will be money available to the town to move the projects forward.
For these purposes, not like for, you know, I don't know, not to fix the dam or build the road.
No,
for the broadband.
So this money was set up for broadband. The money coming in, we may be able to use for other projects, which will be fine because we are ahead of schedule or at least on schedule with an early payoff on the broadband. So the money coming in from the federal government, at this point, we feel that we can use it on a lot of different levels.
This is a good time to use Mr. Meyer as a model. Folks, can we please be quieter for the people who are checking in? George, Mr. Stefan.
Yes.
Could we keep it down if possible so that we can conduct our business?
Sure.
If you wish to speak, seek permission from the chair. We have some controversy going on this afternoon and this morning. And so I'm going to make sure that we don't end up with independent dialogues that are going on, conversations. I will grant permission. Just look at the chair and ask to speak. Mr. Carter, you wanted to respond to Mr. Carter's comment.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that was going back to the used for, thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Carter, will you remain up for one moment? You ended your motion after the budget. I think there's and to further and more language.
That's right.
And who seconded it? So your motion really was as read to continue. So the motion is to approve it as it reads in the copy of the special town warrant, meeting warrant that you have, and the second agrees with that. Further discussion or comments? Again, if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please line up here in front of this microphone and you'll be recognized. Anybody? Are we ready to vote on Article 1 of our special town meeting warrant? Looks like we are. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Article 2, is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. O'Lannon.
I move to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash a sum of $88,000 to the Lake Dam Project account, Fund 444, or act relative thereto.
Second.
You moved that the town vote to transfer, and you delete the words to act relative thereto?
Yes.
Yes, and a second by Mr. Carter. Please explain to us, Mr. O'Lannon.
So, a while back, the town voted a debt exclusion in order to rebuild the dam. The town voted $250,000 at that time. And the dam project has just been completed recently. So it's been completely rebuilt. Hopefully you've been down there and you've seen the improvements that have been made. Fortunately, the town has not had to borrow any of that money that was voted on in the debt exclusion. We've been able to pay for it through different tranches of free cash and other sources. This last bit of $88,000 is going to be coming from free cash, which was only recently recertified from last year, unfortunately. But the good news is we won't have to borrow any money to pay off the dam rebuild. So that's what this is for.
I think the Finance Committee has recommended this article as well unanimously.
Correct.
Thank you. Discussion, questions, comments? There's a microphone awaiting you. Yes, please. And remember to state your name and where you live, please.
Christopher Payne, 326 Main Street. I'm just wondering if the contractor who did the dam work is accountable for the erosion that's already taken place in the path and by the boat entry to the lake. There's quite a bit of erosion already. And I'm just wondering how that gets fixed, or who's accountable for that before you pay off the project entirely.
Mr. Leonard?
Well,
I wish we should use the mic because not only to amplify but to record.
So we weren't aware of that problem. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. We'll look at that before the final payment is made. Has final payment been made yet? No. So we'll look at that before final payment is made.
Thank you for that observation. Other contributions, questions? Are we ready to vote on Article 2 of the special town warrant? Special town meeting warrant. Okay. All in favor as moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Article 3, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Goodgen.
So I'd like to point out this is an amended motion from what is listed on Article 3. I move the town vote to appropriate from free cash the sum of $20,000 to the snow and ice removal general expense line known as winter roads.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you please explain?
Yeah, so we didn't know how much we were going to need to add to the winter roads fund, which we sometimes have to do on years, like obviously we had that big storm at the end of the year. So by the time the warrant had to be posted, we just estimated it to be about $50,000. Turns out we didn't need that much, so we reduced that amount to $20,000 to put in that account to balance it for the year.
And this too is recommended by our Finance Committee, 5-0 to 0. Thank you. Questions, comments? Yes, sir. Mr. Mine.
So, Dave Meyer, 472 West Road. I'm just trying to understand. This is $20,000 on top of what we appropriated last year.
Yeah, so this is on top of that because obviously this is a budget and we don't know what the winter road clearing situation is going to be for next season. We can only guess that every year. Sometimes that account, we don't spend all that money. Years like this, especially that big storm right at the end of the year, that account went over by about $20,000. So we're trying to balance that account at the end of the year.
Follow up, please.
Yeah. So maybe this is ahead of when we go into this year, we vote later today. Would this $20,000 be added to the amount that we budgeted, or will it be low again?
Well, I mean, we have this, basically it's going to be about, I think we have a rolling average of it. And so some years it might be a little over, some years it's going to be a little under. And, that's basically trying to guess what Mother Nature's going to give us. So.
And when it's over, that money stays in the winter. I'm trying to understand, will the money stay? So say it was $150,000, we appropriated, we only used 120. That $30,000 would go into the winter roads budget, or would it go back into the general fund?
That just goes back into what's called free cash every year, and we don't spend it on any budget line. Okay. So then that money becomes available to us once that's certified, usually in the fall.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any other questions, comments? Are we ready to vote? All in favor of Article 3 as moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That carries unanimously. Article 4, is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $1,500 from the emergency management expense line to a new generator shed account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please.
So the reason for this is there was $1,500 appropriated as part of the emergency management expenses out of it. However, the project can be completed by the end of this fiscal year, so we're taking that money and we're setting it aside so we can carry it forward so that shed can be taken care of in the next fiscal year. So it doesn't just go into the general fund and then back into free cash and have to be appropriated.
Thank you. This too has been recommended by our Finance Committee 5 to 0. Questions, comments? Microphone awaits you. Mr. Kippen, please your name and address.
Sam Kippen, Spruce Corner. I'm sorry for my ignorance, wonder where that shed would be located.
To my knowledge, at the moment, it's going to be right
I'm
out.
sorry, Mr. Carter. I'm going to insist on the microphone.
The idea is that it's going to be out here behind the fire department and the town hall.
And it would only be run in emergency power shortage?
Yeah, it's not a big generator, unfortunately. It needs to be a much bigger generator that we're probably going to be discussing at a future date.
And one
Yes, Mr. Kippen, you may follow up.
last question. Does it serve more than the town hall when it operates?
Right now, we're trying to make it share between the town hall and the fire department, and to be honest, it probably does a really poor job at both of them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further questions, comments? Contribution? Yes, please. Ms. Schwartz.
I'm just wondering if it's not what we need, why we're not getting what we need.
Did everyone hear that question? If it's not what we need, why aren't we getting what we need?
So it is what it is because of the amount of money we were able to get on a grant. So it probably would run one building fairly satisfactory, but probably not two. We were hoping that we'd be able to get more out of it. The last big storm at the end of the year when we lost power for quite a while is making us reanalyze, what exactly our needs are. Part of the annual town meeting budget is money for a very suitable generator to go up to the highway garage, because at that point, unless the power company showed up with a generator, which they graciously did, we wouldn't have been able to have fuel for the trucks, right? While we were trying to clear the roads and the equipment and so forth. So, yes, this generator was a grant that George was able to get. I believe, George, you got that through emergency management. And yes, we wish it was probably 3 times larger, but it wasn't. But we're going to, one of the things we're looking at going forward is exactly what is needed. But we do have this one, which we were very blessed to have during this storm. So.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Any other questions or comments on Article 4? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of Article 4 as moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? That carries unanimously. Article 5 is there a motion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Olenek.
Move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $15,000 from the health insurance line to the data contracted services line or act relative thereto.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carter. Please explain.
So, during this past fiscal year, the one that we're in currently, it became apparent that our treasurer's cash book was not up to date, and we were having difficulty getting it caught up, which is one of the reasons why we weren't able to certify free cash until 6 weeks ago. Normally it's certified around November, so it left us in pretty bad shape fiscally, not knowing where we were at. In order to fix that problem, the town hired a consulting service to do this work. What you're going to see later on in the annual town meeting also represents a change in our accounting services. But in order to pay for that contracted accountant, we needed to give them some money. So this is part of the funding for that accounting service.
Thank you. This also is recommended by our Finance Committee, 5-0 to 0. Discussion, questions? Mr. Meyer.
So, Dave Meyer, 472 West Road. So, it says in here, turnover in staff and vacancy for several months. So, all that money that we didn't have to pay the staff was not enough to cover the cost of the contracted services?
Correct.
And
Oops. There you go. Now we're getting there. Yes, you may.
so, how much was that? I see that, how much was the contracted services? I don't see how much we had to pay them.
Does Mr. McClatchy is not, he's our town administrator, he's not a registered voter in Ashfield. Anybody object to him speaking? Hearing no objection, please, Mr. McClatchy.
Is the question where we stand now or where we budgeted last year for this year?
How much did we pay them?
We're up to around 25 right now. Okay, yeah, they're unfortunately financial consultants are not cheap, especially in the municipal world.
Yes.
And Ken, is that company like going to be like a full-time, part-time thing, or is it just to catch up and get us back on track?
It's just to catch us up and get us back on track. The town has until June 30th, FERCog accounting services. We're breaking ties with FERCog for those accounting services. We're hiring an account specifically for the town, and we hope that we won't run into these problems going forward because of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Any other questions or comments? Are we voting, ready to vote on whether to transfer $15,000 from health insurance line to the data contracted services line? We ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Article 6, is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Goodgen.
I move the town vote to transfer the sum of $11,000 from the vocational education expense line to the audit line.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carter. Please explain.
So, this is like the last one. This is basically when our accountant came in, we're just trying to balance out different accounts. So some bills for the consultant were paid out of the audit line, and we're basically trying to replenish the money in the audit line.
This too is recommended by our Finance Committee, 5-0 to 0. Questions, comments, discussion? Yes, Mr. Quigley.
Very quickly, very low. So that effectively doubled our audit line from last year, which was $10,550.
The question is, did that double our audit line from last year?
We have biennial audits, so yeah, that's money we have to put in there every, basically every year.
But we appropriate money every year, but we know we have the audit and the bill comes every other year, so there was more in there.
Thank you, Mr. Quigley. Anybody else? Questions, comments, contributions? Are we ready to vote? All in favor of Article 6 as moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That too passes unanimously. Article 7.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $4,000 from the vocational education expense line to a new account salary line.
A new town accountant salary line?
Correct.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you explain this?
Okay, as Mr. Olenek had alluded to earlier, we're moving away from the FERCog accounting system, and so we're trying to set up this new town accountant salary line so that we can have some overlap here before the end of the year, that so we can start July 1st with our own accountant that'll have some background on how it had been done before we don't have the FERCog services.
Thank you. This too has been recommended by our Finance Committee 5-0 to 0. Discussion, questions, comments? Ready to vote? All those in favor of transferring this sum of $4,000 from vocational education expense line to a new town accountant salary line, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Mr. Olenek, a motion on Article 8.
Yes, Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer a sum of $3,000 from the health insurance line to the Medicare general expense line.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Carter seconds. Why are we doing that?
So when we budgeted last year for the Medicare tax, it's a guess as to how much that tax is going to be. Each payroll, it ended up being about $100 short on what was owed for that tax. And so this is just an amount to make up for that deficit.
Again, recommended by the Finance Committee, 5-0 to 0. Discussion. You ready to vote? All those in favor of transferring the sum of $3,000 from the health insurance line to the Medicare general expense line, as moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Article 9, do we have a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Butcher.
I move the town vote to transfer the sum of $4,645.50 from the highway tractor account to the highway general expense account.
Second. Mr. Olenek, seconds. Explanation, please.
So the tractor replacement came in with some leftover funds, and the highway truck replacement came in a little higher than anticipated. So what we did was we paid that difference for the highway truck replacement out of the general highway account. So this is to put that money to replenish that general highway account.
Recommended 5-0 by our Finance Committee. Discussion. Questions, comments? We're ready to vote. All those in favor of Article 9 as moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstention? That includes the 50-cent part. I love that. And Article 10 on our special town meeting warrant, is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Carter.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer $5,980.08 from the vacation buyout account to the highway general expense account.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Olenek seconds. Could you explain this, please?
Sure. In January time period, we changed the policy on vacation and how much vacation to carry forward and for the employees and so forth. But in doing that, we voted an amount of money to buy out any vacation that they had earned that was different than what we were changing our policy for. In that account, there was $5,908.80 that was over budgeted. The leftover, so the highway truck replacement cost came in a little higher than anticipated, and this difference will pay for that expense.
And this too is recommended by our Finance Committee, 5-0 to 0. Discussion. Questions? Comments? Is there a motion to amend the 8 cents to 7 cents? No, we're ready to vote. All in favor of Article 10 as moved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That carries unanimously. Do I hear a motion to adjourn our special town meeting of May 6, 2023? Mr. Kohler so moves. Is there a second? Mr. Kippen seconds. All in favor, there's no discussion on the motion to adjourn. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That requires a 2/3 majority, but because of our bylaw, I get to call that without having to count hands to make sure it's 2/3. It certainly is 2/3 when it's unanimous. We are adjourning.